We are now live.
Thank you so much, Emilia. Good evening, everyone. Good afternoon for some of you, and good morning for some of our attendees today. Today, we are, as FCGA, incredibly excited to present this webinar and this white paper results. It provides a global snapshot of how fiber and in-home networks are deployed, managed, and maintained inside residential buildings, especially in the MDU or MDUs unit. We collected insights from operators, ISPs, ecosystem partners across multiple regions. So let's walk through the results. And first of all, I would like to welcome our speakers for today's webinar. So Gary Bolton, the president of Fibre Broadband Association. We have Ricardo, also from Fibre Broadband Association Latin chapter. We have Trond from FTTH Council Europe, head of committee or the chair of committee in FTTH Council Europe. We have myself, I'm Khulud, the Director General of Fiber Connect Council MENA. So welcome to our speakers. It's our pleasure to gather for the second time today to present the in-home connectivity survey results. We will start by giving you just an idea why this webinar matters. So fiber to the building is now mainstream in many markets, and the in-home network has become the new performance and differentiation layer. User experience services monetization increasingly depend on what happens inside the apartment. So these all will be covered, and you will see differentiations between different regions globally. What this webinar covers, it covers a key global trends in in-home connectivity, regional differences in infrastructure, technologies, speed, and services, and how operators are shifting from pure connectivity to value-added experience. Now allow me to welcome our first speaker, Trond from FTTH Council Europe, to walk us through in-home connectivity in Europe area. Trond, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Khulud. Hello, everyone. My name is Trond, as Khulud said. Happy to be here and presenting for you. Talking about Europe and our market over there. So Europe, we are kind of at a defining point in the future of in-home connectivity. Like Khulud said, fiber to the building, fiber to the household is now mainstream in most markets in Europe. And of course, the real opportunity and also the challenge lies what happens inside the households. For Europe, we have a very strong FTTH deployment. We have 80% coverage. We have a high service offering of especially voice, where 90% of all operators are providing this service to their customers, or at least they are offering it. The take-up rate it varies in different countries, but the offer is quite high on voice. There is also an increasing focus on the operator side to offer cybersecurity services, and more than 40% of the operators in Europe are now offering this service to their customers. And I think we have built a pretty solid foundation for expansion of new value-added services. Operators, they are now taking the next step, kind of. They are moving from being connectivity providers, and now focusing more on how to create experiences and be the enabler for this towards their customers. And they are using different technologies to do so. First and foremost, we are using Wi-Fi. Very little FTTR, but we see that it is slowly growing. And we are bundling these technologies, as I said, with new services. And this is extremely important, of course, because we see that the revenues overall is declining, and of course investment capacity is stretched. So how we innovate in the in-home environment is no longer optional, but it's really essential for survival and becoming profitable. And how to move forward, as the survey shows, user experience and services, and monetize on these services depends very much on how you do this within the apartments or households. And of course, the European operators that master this transition the best, combining the infrastructure that is coming into the house with compelling in-home experiences, both throughout a great infrastructure and new services. Those players will win the race. Next. So we have some strengths in Europe, but we also have some challenges, and I'm just gonna go through the different strengths we have and the different challenges. So we have in Europe coverage that is higher than the US, for example, but we are behind other countries and regions like China, Korea, UAE, that has close to full adoption. We are lucky we have high fiber investments, because 46% of the telecom investments, they are dedicated to FTTH, and that's quite high. We also see that we have relatively high penetration of high-speed subscription plans. We also see that we are maturing on bundling different services and offer them to the operators, so this becomes more and more mature. And like I said, around 40% of the operators in Europe include cybersecurity as a part of their service portfolio. However, we also have some challenges, and we have some coverage on who can get gigabit to their households. And here we are also behind China and South Korea. We also see that overall, both in the mobile space, but also in the fixed network space, our ARPU is lower. And this, of course, limit our reinvestment capacity. And we also see, unfortunately, that the first decrease in the telecom investment is now a reality. So this creates also really that we have to think about how we can differentiate ourselves and how we can get return on investments, so we can get the funding that we need to build the next phase. Next slide, Kulon. Thank you. So with regards to strategic positioning, our infrastructure foundation is strong. Like I said, we have mainstream FTTH, FTTB deployment rate. We have a pretty healthy take-up rate of 40% out of the 80. We're not happy with it, but it's moving in the right direction, and I think we need to work on the service side to get this even better. We also see that historically we have, especially in North Europe, prioritized easy to deploy single family homes. But now we also see through the survey that there is a growing MDU focus. And with the external fiber infrastructure outside the house, mostly built, we see that the battle has now moved indoor versus before outdoor. And we see that this is how you do this is becoming the new differentiation layer. And Wi-Fi mesh is widely deployed, almost 80%. There is still the highest penetration on Wi-Fi 6, but we see increasing demand and increasing need for Wi-Fi 7. And what we also see is that FTTR is not yet widely used technology in Europe, but we get more and more requests for it. And hopefully this can be a good complementary to the Wi-Fi technology moving forward. And of course, as connectivity commoditizes, the operators must shift focus, and they have to deliver smart home and different services, cybersecurity, and bundle this to drive differentiation and also to drive higher ARPU. We see that our ARPU is remaining low versus the US. This goes for the mobile sector, it goes for the fixed networks. And of course, we have to, as a consequence of this, we need to explore new ways to grow the total ARPU across mobile and fixed networks. The quality of the installation within the houses, it matters. We see that 78 or almost 80% is relying on on-site technicians for new fiber installations. And this is, of course, critical for customer satisfaction and reducing churn, but we also see that this is an opportunity to increase the value at the customer side. So next slide, Claude.
Yeah.
Thank you. So some recommendations for the operators out there. So first and foremost, phase one, you have.
Anybody can hear it, Ron?
No, Trond, could you please unmute yourself? Thank you.
I was kind of muted, so I'm not sure how much you heard, but I'm repeating myself. So some recommendation for operators. Phase one, you have to think about how you're going to optimize your in-home infrastructure, and you have to enhance the customer experience. And you can do this by deploying different Wi-Fi technologies, using this with mesh systems, but also with complementary FTTR where it's appropriate. Make sure the Wi-Fi equipment is installed with optimized placement so that you get a really good customer experience. Develop self-service tools such as mobile applications, and we see that there is a growing usage of this throughout Europe. And build upon the on-site visits out there. Use them to increase quality in a home network deployment, and educate the technicians that is out there, and educate them both on the technology side, but also on how to upsell new services, because they are actually with the customer and they have a great opportunity to influence the end user to also adopt new value-added services. So when you have optimized the in-home infrastructure, phase two would be to develop a very interesting value-added service portfolio. And I think what is important is to start to define what are you going to solve for your customer in your market, because this will differ across the different regions. And then when you have done that, focus on building sustainable commercial models to deliver that value. Because what we have seen is that the biggest challenge hasn't really been the technology. That's not the main obstacle now to delivering value-added services, but it's how you build your offering, how you solve things for your customers, how you build your commercial models. That's really the biggest challenge on getting adoption towards new revenue streams. So I think that was what I was planning to say. So thank you for listening, everyone.
Thank you so much, Trond, for your time and for joining us in both sessions today. And I believe it covers a lot of areas, what you just explained, and the survey itself, it shows a lot of, let's say, in-home connectivity inside Europe. Thank you so much, Trond, one more time. And please, if you have any questions to Trond, you can just send it to us, and Trond later, after the webinar, can answer your questions. Now I will move forward with the slides, and I will take you to MENA region. So MENA region here, I did not prepare any slide. I just want you to look at the market context, infrastructure, technology and services, and the speed and monetization. What I would like to say that when you look at the MENA region slide, we see a market that is no longer in deployment mode. It is in optimization, monetization mode. Unlike many other regions globally, MENA benefits from large national operators, fiber-ready new developments, and a very high density of multi-dwelling units. This combination creates structural advantages. Because many new buildings are delivered fiber-ready, we are not dealing with heavy retrofit constraints. The in-building infrastructure is often designed correctly from day one, so that gives operators the ability to deploy services faster, upgrade more efficiently, and standardize quality across the development. From an infrastructure point of view or perspective, structured pathways combined with direct in-wall installations are common, and single-mode fiber usage is high, around 70%. This is important because it means that the network inside the building is already future-proof. Multi-gig upgrades, including the 10 gigabit services and even FTTR expansion, do not require disruptive civil works. They are logical next steps rather than complex rebuilds. Additionally, the widespread use of IEC and the low smoke zero halogen standards ensures regulatory alignment and safety compliance across projects. When we look at technologies and services, MENA stands out globally. Wi-Fi mesh adoption is strong. Wi-Fi 6 is widely deployed, and FTTR is gaining momentum. But more importantly, the region shows strong leadership in smart home and automation services. This is where the real opportunity lies. Operators in MENA are well positioned to move beyond being connectivity providers and become digital lifestyle enablers. Managed Wi-Fi, smart home bundles, security services, gaming optimization, and the premium in-home experience packages all represent monetization layers on top of fiber. Speed tiers and speed tiers in the region are broadly disrupted, with 1 to 10 gigabit services widely available. This indicates that the infrastructure is capable of supporting premium experiences. However, speed alone is no longer the differentiator. The next growth lever is the customer experience in the region. With many services bundled today, there is an opportunity to evolve towards more experience-based pricing, offering differentiated quality of service, low latency packages for gaming, enhanced cybersecurity, or premium smart home integration. In summary, MENA has already demonstrated fiber leadership. The next phase is experience leadership, using strong in-building infrastructure, high fiber penetration, and smart home adoption to drive service innovation and sustainable monetization. So this is all about MENA region. I hope that you get some new information or gain some more insight than what you already know. And I will show you now just the results for Africa. Unfortunately, Juanita couldn't join us in this session. But as you can see from Africa, that the market context and the infrastructure, technology, services, speed and monetization, it differs from region to region. You can see here that FTTR adoption, it's still, let's say, if we want to compare with other regions, still not that, let's say, the appetite for the FTTR, it's not that high. Juanita also mentioned in the morning session that there is a lot of work happening in terms of the subsea cable, and the focus now in Africa is in the subsea cable nowadays. So this is for Africa. Going to APAC results. APAC results, I would say it's kind of similar to MENA results, but they are one step maybe ahead of MENA. They have the FTTR strongly adopted in the region. They have already Wi-Fi 6, Wi-Fi 7. They are leaders in this as a region. The speed and monetization, the entry tier is 50 to 100, 1 to 10 gigabits per second mainstream. So as you can see that APAC results are also really good in terms of the in-home experience. Now I will go to Latin America, and I would like to ask Ricardo from Fibre Broadband Association Latin chapter to join us and walk us through the in-home connectivity experience in Latin.
Thank you, Kulun. Good afternoon, morning, or evening for everybody.
Yeah.
I'm Ricardo Raineri. I am the Technology Committee Chair for the Fibre Broadband Association Latam chapter, and I'd like to present the results of the survey for our region. So in Latin America, in terms of market context, we have a rapid FTTH expansion. This varies a little bit from country to country. For example, Brazil started to massively deploy FTTH around 2010, with a peak between 2014 and 15, and as well as Mexico that followed the same trend. And other countries started later with a peak of FTTH deployment around 2020, 2021. And the region now is reaching one of the highest fiber adoptions that were predicted. So we are about 134 million homes passed today, with a take-up rate average of 34%, and in a few countries is over 50%, like in Brazil, Mexico. And we have a strong MDU focus, with fiber arriving into MDU facilities and fiber going direct to the apartments. And also, there is usually FTTH competes with copper technology still in a lot of countries. For example, in Argentina and other like Colombia and Peru, there is a 50-50 proportion of homes passed between FTTH and copper technology, especially HFC. But most of the big operators, MSOs, are switching to fiber very quickly in a way that the investments are being mostly done in the fiber world. The region is reaching now a point to which the XGS-PON technology is becoming much more popular, because if you compare to other regions, the fiber broadband scenario here, FTTH was a technology that was massively adopted for improved density, not with a huge speed focus. And the objective of the most operators and ISPs were to deploy massively and reach out most of the regions and build homes passed. And now the challenge is to turn those home passes into customers, which is the actual focus of most operators, is converting and raising up the take-up rate. We have in the region expected to reach around 59 to 60% take-up rate around 2029. Today we are at around an average of 34 to 40 in most of the countries. In terms of infrastructure, we have a high adoption of single mode fiber. Basically, all the FTTH products rely on that technology and the region, and direct in wall installations inside a home represents 60% I would say it's even higher in some countries, like 90% in most of the countries. Only in very high tier plans you find the structured cabling inside the homes, or even FTTR, which is not common in the region. But it's a for differentiation in terms of quality of service. Some operators are adopting the to put this structured cable inside the homes to give a better experience, especially in environments which the Wi-Fi doesn't perform so well, and or the applications that the end customer expect, like gaming or high quality streaming. We on the higher tiers that offer those services, it's expected to have a structured cable inside the homes. We still have, as I told, a mix of fiber and copper legacy, and this is being one of the challenges of most operators to switch in terms of the operation side, because there are two different worlds, and some operators needed to invest a lot in tools and also in new processes to handle fiber together with the legacy technology. And the trend is that fiber is taking up very quickly, and most of the high-end services are being deployed on fiber now across the region. In terms of technologies and services, Wi-Fi is the most adopted in-home broadband technology to deliver the broadband. We have a strong base of Wi-Fi 5. Wi-Fi 6 is being widely adopted as a natural evolution, and in a few countries there is a movement to adopt Wi-Fi 7 for the higher tier plans. There's a interesting thing that there in most of the countries, the service providers and ISPs, they bundle TV services together with the fiber broadband service, mainly because this was in Latin America, the MSOs, as we call that used to have a cable TV, and then they started to offer in broadband services over HFC and coax cable. They still keep that trend of bundling internet services together with TV services to get more attractive plans. And this is widely across the region, and we see it in all the countries. And usually the TV plans are differentiator in terms of also allowing streaming services bundled with the TV plans and the broadband plans. Also, security cameras are being used over the internet. Unfortunately, our region, we have some security issues, and that drives this market a lot. So a lot of security and theft prevention work over fiber fiber networks, and this also is a strong point that the survey already revealed. In terms of speed and monetization, we have entry plans an average 200 to 500 megabits. This varies a little bit from country to country. There are countries that are lower than that, and there are countries that are much higher than that, depending really on the level of maturity of the market itself. We see gigabit plans growing fast, especially in countries like Chile, in Argentina. Brazil also, due to the size of the country, and bundles really dominate on that plan. As I mentioned before, the bundles that offer a lot of services together with the broadband itself. And also our country, our region have besides the big service providers that we call the telcos, there is a phenomena that in our region there are a lot of regional outnets and ISPs. So this, for example, in Brazil, there are more than 23,000 ISPs, which is something that it really catches attention, because if you sum up all the networks and all the homes passed they have, they are equivalent like the fourth or the third largest operator in the country. And they count for today about 60% of the homes passed that were built in the last 5 years. So they have a really strong position to compete against the major telcos in the market. And this also happened in other countries like Colombia, and it's beginning to happen also in other countries like Mexico and Peru, for example. And a few highlights of our region: we have Chile among one of the fastest average speeds in the world. This came from the last survey that the Fibre Broadband Association did in the region, with 347 megabits of download average and 270 megabits upload in average. And also, interesting fact is that there's a huge urban competition driving speed and reliability gains. It means that usually a home pass is served by a lot of sockets. So the overlap rate on the region, it's about 1.7 today. So usually you have at least 2 options to connect yourself in most of the countries, and in a few of them it's even higher. You have 3-4 options to select, which drives a lot of competition. But in the end, this opens the space for differentiation, and all operators and service providers and ISPs, they are looking for any type of differentiation, and usually it relies on the service quality to avoid churn. In-home Wi-Fi, it's also a big pain point today because of the way that it's usually deployed. The operators are massively migrating to Wi-Fi 6, but even though Wi-Fi usually stands about 40 to 50% of customer calls. So this also reflects that there's a lot of improvement space in the Wi-Fi service, especially in very dense areas, and usually a lot of education process in terms of how to treat a Wi-Fi inside the homes. FTTR is gaining momentum for multi-room gigabit plans, especially, but the majority of the in-home connectivity is still Wi-Fi, and also space for Wi-Fi 7, as I told. Today, the service quality is the big key that the operators and service providers are looking for to differentiate and avoid churn. We are seeing very aggressive plans, and also most of the ISPs are looking in somehow to differentiate their services by focusing on better practices and also improving the stability of the network, because they are realizing that having speed is not enough. You need to have a reliable and stable network. That this is key to avoid customer calls, and most of them are investing in tools, management systems, newer equipment, and more robust equipment that can help them keep the customers connected without disturbances. So this is one of the challenges that they have been facing, and across the whole region, with especially in very dense markets like Brazil, Mexico, and Argentina, for example. So this is
Thank you
what
so
I
much,
have.
Ricardo. Yeah. So I have just a few comments on what you were talking, or what you were presenting on Latin America. So the TV with fiber bundle, we have this in the region like long time ago, especially in the UAE and Saudi Arabia. We call triple play. So and I guess this kind of offers, it push a lot of developers to deploy the fiber within the buildings just before even the tenant ask for fiber or not. So this is one of the things. And I want to ask you a question, Ricardo. What do you think will be the application that will demand the next jump in home connectivity speed in Latin America?
Well, as we are seeing a lot of AI applications that are really driving the need. There is a huge demand for applications that requires AI, and also the 5G started to boom a lot in the region. So most of the bigger countries are deploying 5G. So when you bundle it together, this is pushing a lot the region, the fiber infrastructure in the region. And this is also enabling service providers and ISPs to allow their networks to support that type of traffic, which is really improving. There are a lot of data center interconnect that requires robust fiber to support all of this.
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Ricardo, so much. And now let's move to North America and ask Gary to join us and give us a tour in the in-home connectivity experience in North America. So Gary, would you want me to stay on this slide, or you just want me just to jump to the next slide?
That slide's good. Thanks, Khulud. Appreciate it. Gary Bolton. I'll be representing North America. In the U.S., I'll start with, we had a strong response from network operators, and many of these were smaller operators because we have now over 1,544 fiber broadband operators in the U.S. as of the last FCC BCD, or what they call broadband data collection report. So every 6 months, each operator's required to submit the deployment to the FCC. So that's 1,544, quite a few operators. So in the U.S., there's about 30% of the households live in multi-dwelling units, whereas in Canada, it's nearly 50%. And we're seeing a lot of network upgrades as fiber deployment continues to hit record levels. This past year, operators passed 11.8 million homes with fiber. So that continues to go up every year as we're still in the largest fiber investment cycle in history here in North America. And then our in-home installations are primarily direct-in-wall with single-mode fiber. Residential gateways are deployed, and most of these gateways are equipped with Mesh Wi-Fi 5 or Mesh Wi-Fi 6E. And then with respect to in-home applications, security cameras and smart lighting lead the way, but I'll get a little more detail on that. And then when we talk about speed, today across North America, 10 gig symmetric XGS PON is the primary network technology, but we're starting to see the volume deployments of 25 gig symmetric PON being deployed this year. So, we went from a few years ago, the tipping point from GPON to XGS, and now we'll start seeing here the next year or two a tipping point into 25 gig PON and beyond. So the speeds keep getting faster and faster and faster. Entry tiers are in that 200 to 500 meg range, but many operators offer gigabit or multi-gigabit services. For example, here in my office, in my home on Tybee Island, I have 5 gig symmetric service from Live Oak Fiber. So that's 5 gig. It's great. And, as many of my colleagues before had said, fiber to the room is just starting to get a little traction as we see speeds significantly surpass those of Wi-Fi. We'll see people start using more fiber to the desktop, especially if you're a gamer. Every gamer I've talked to across the nation, they would never use anything other than a direct fiber, because latency is king. We'll start seeing more in those applications. Also in the U.S., fiber operators are winning both the broadband subscriber. So if you have fiber, you'll win the broadband subscriber, but also the mobile subscriber. So these fiber operators are seeing significant reductions in their operational expenses, also significant improvements in their average revenue per user. I think Europe was talking about they haven't been able to get ARPU as high as US, and most importantly, the mobile subscription rates. So as an example, AT&T recently reported in their earnings that 42% of their fiber subscribers are also subscribing to AT&T's mobile wireless service. So it's really been really great to really bolster the profitability and revenue for our service providers across North America. You can go to the next slide. So I'm just going to hit some high points in a little more detail. So as I mentioned, in our survey, we had a lot of smaller providers. So the green at the bottom of the slide is tier 1. So largely, like a AT&T and Verizon, which in the beginning, they were pretty much all the service across fiber service across the U.S. And as of this past year, 40% of service is provided by these other 1,540 some odd providers. So the big segments that are coming out is certainly competitive providers. I mentioned Live Oak Fiber, but also Ting or Google Fiber and so forth. We're seeing a lot of tier 2s and tier 3s, so more regional providers, regionals and local providers. Also, cable MSOs are largely switching over to fiber to the home. And then our fastest growing segments are like rural electric co-ops and municipalities. Go to the next slide. And then, just kind of drilling into our MDUs. So as I mentioned, the U.S. is somewhere around 30% of families. So you can see the breakdown here on the left. It varies from a duplex to having 3 or 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, even to over 50, in large high rise. So that all adds up to around close to 30%. In Canada, about 90% of the population of Canada is within 100 miles of the U.S. border, so a lot along the border, and those are some of the bigger cities, so you see more high rises. U.S. and both U.S. and Canada certainly have a lot of rural area as well. Go ahead, next slide. And then, we talked about like in-home applications. In one of our surveys, we saw that the most thing that people are looking for in MDUs is washer and dryer, but second to washer and dryer is having broadband. So once your clothes are clean, you can start to get online and do all your broadband. So again, broadband is super important, and that's why we're seeing a lot of interest in serving fiber, not just to the building, but fiber to each unit in a high density living unit. Next slide. I know it's coming here. There it is. Yes. And then no surprise, pretty much everybody's on the internet. We've gone over the last 25 years from half the nation being participating in internet to now pretty much 100%. And that's really, it's going to accelerate now as everything moves to AI. Go ahead, next slide. And this is just really showing that the quality of connection so it's not just being able to have minimum speeds to connect to the internet, but being able to have a high quality connection is becoming paramount. And you can see the data use per household per month is climbing like crazy, so almost exponential. And next slide. And then when we look at what are things going on in the homes, you can see that every category is growing, whether it's online shopping, telehealth, coming out of COVID and being able to have robust fiber connections is really critical. I'm going to really dive into AI in a second because that is really transformative. And obviously online education and then, all the devices and so forth in the house. Go ahead to the next slide. I'm just going to hit a few more of these, but it's no surprise that every category is rising from, video on demand, social media, two-way videos, everybody's doing Zoom calls, gaming, all that stuff. The only thing that we saw is, a little bump in COVID areas, but again, in-home income and occupation, being able to work from home is really, and have home-based businesses. So fiber really has kind of been very transformative across the U.S. And then next slide. So we talked about devices, whether you have security cameras or, lighting, thermostats, door locks, everything is pretty much, we've got now in the U.S., and this is from Parks Associates from a recent Fiber Breakfast, nearly half the country has some kind of smart device, and those are growing in a rapid fashion. So I know in my house, everything is connected. So, and my wife gets to control what's connected. So I have to ask her to turn the light on for me. All right, next slide. And then I think this is kind of where I'm going to wrap things up. But really think this is critically important. And what this is showing, some research from Recon Analytics, that the blue bar here is on the quality of connection, and it's showing that fiber, 75% of fiber subscribers use AI daily, and that drops based on the quality of connection, where it drops for cable, fixed wireless, DSL, and less than 10% of satellite users. But what's even more striking is that when you have a robust fiber connection, the majority, 45% are using some kind of desktop or laptop, for their fiber, as you can imagine, gaming or work from home or education or telehealth and so forth. But also the applications they're using. So when you have fiber to a desktop, you're going to be using more rich media, so these high density applications. And then as your quality connection goes down, you can see that when you get to satellite, which is kind of crazy that in the US, LEO satellites become a thing, largely because of the administration's push to support one of the LEO satellite providers. But when people we're stuck with LEO, they're pretty much using their phone, and they're not doing very much rich media application. So again, as we move to an AI world, fiber is going to be critical to be able to have the quality of experience, to be able to do the kind of things that AI is going to enable. Well, I really appreciate it. I think that's all I was planning to talk about, and I'll turn it back.
Thank you so much, Gary. Yeah, thank you so much. But Gary, I have to say something, like talking about the satellite and the fiber, that we know that unlike the rest of the world, the government of the US appears to be pushing the Starlink and LEO satellite services. How does this impact the fiber deployment nowadays in the US?
Well, it really doesn't have any impact competitively, because we're seeing that fiber providers as I mentioned, AT&T, that in their recent earnings, they were just talking about that they're going to return $45 billion to shareholders between 2026 and 2028. So the fact that they are able to reduce their OPEX, improve the revenues with broadband deployment, increase their average revenue per user, get attach rates with mobile broadband. So what US fiber providers look at LEO customers as soon to be fiber providers. Where it does hurt is that 1 million subscribers, 1 million families will be stuck with LEO satellite with the government subsidies. So it's unfortunate, but the other 139 million homes will all have fiber. So, and hopefully these are the hardest to reach. So as we get more and more fiber, and the other kind of anomaly, maybe not anomaly, but what's happening in a big way in the US is the hyperscalers. As we roll out more AI data centers and AI becomes a big thing. And these data centers are largely being in areas that have land and water, which is rural. And so as we get all this mass amounts of fiber there, that will make it easier for private investment. So private investments kind of ruling the day in the US. Companies like Verizon and Google Fiber and all the providers, those 1,544 providers, are largely using, 90% of that CapEx, it comes from private investment. And so we're seeing a lot of private equity, a lot of investment to really be able to get fiber to every home and business across North America.
All right. So I have one question also from the audience to our speaker. Can you say something about FTTR? Normally, one would terminate fiber in a home or business, then run Ethernet. How does FTTR fit into the picture?
Well, I'll start personally. I can see my gateway. It's 20 feet away from me in my office here. And, when I run Wi-Fi and I have 5 gig service, it's only delivering me 1 gig. So if I do my speed test, so why am I paying for 5 gig when I can only get 1 gig out of my Wi-Fi? So Lightera was kind enough to give me a fiber to the room kit, and I can have fiber all the way to my desktop here and be able to get the full capacity. And, as I mentioned, the networks that are built today are 10 gig symmetric, but this year we're moving to 25 gig. And so as we get to 25 gig, 50 gig, terabits, there's no way any kind of wireless service is going to be able to keep up. And so as we get more, and as I mentioned, as we have more fiber to the desktop, then we're able to have more rich experiences with AI and the internet and so forth.
And what do you think this is another question, what do you think the applications that would push the adoption of FTTR?
Well, as I mentioned, the gamers, and as we go across the nation and look at gamers, they would never even, it's such a handicap. We're right in the middle of the Olympics. You can see that every fraction of a second matters. And so any kind of competitive situation, also security, I think Europe is talking about how cybersecurity is so important to have more secure connectivity.
I guess. Yeah. All right. So thank you so much for all our speakers. Just I want to have the key findings overview out of the survey results. So as you can see that about 74% serves individual apartments in MDUs. Single mode fiber dominates in unit cabling. Direct in-wall, in-ceiling installation is the default. Wi-Fi mesh and Ethernet dominate in home distribution. Core bundles remain internet plus TV and voice. Regarding the technology services evolution, Wi-Fi mesh nearly 80% and Wi-Fi 5 and 6 most common. We can see that the FTTR emerging almost 33%, led by APAC and Middle East. Typical entry tiers 200 to 500 megs and top tiers 1 to 10 gigs becoming standard. If we can say like a key insight out of this white paper, like once fiber is in place, differentiation shifts indoor experience, services, and management define value. At the end, I would like to thank you all. I would like also to insist on the importance of FCGA community and the FCGA projects that we are doing year over year, because it doesn't give you an insight on a regional let's say experience, where when you see that this global insight covers different regions that you can compare, differentiate, and we can like exchange more experience between the regions. I guess this is a place that we are enjoying in the FCGA community. So thank you to all our speakers for those fantastic insights, and big thank to everyone who joined us today. The full in-home connectivity white paper will be available through the FCGA website and also the FCGA Council's website. We hope that today's session was inspired, informed, and ready to shape the future of high quality in-home broadband. Have a wonderful day, a wonderful evening, and we are looking forward to seeing you again in our next FCGA webinar. Thank you all.